Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, the show in which we, the folks at Nerd Caliber, talk about recent bits of nerd news that has happened since our last show last Tuesday, because we do this like every Tuesday at 8 o'clock, which you guys should know by now. Um, I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor in chief of Nerd Caliber on Facebook and Instagram. I'm First Person Shooter as a cosplay photographer. On a bunch of other places, mostly Twitter. I am Burley _ Adopter. Joining me tonight is the we'll let him get a sip out of the way. There we go. Is the red shirt? Hopefully not in a Star Trek sense.
Don't curse me.
No curses. Byron, introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everyone. It is I, Byron McNeil, aka Byron D0, multiple facets of the internet. I'm so glad to be here. I do a lot of stuff for the site. I'm a content creator. I do video reviews, articles, social media conventions, and I am just so glad to be back where I belong.
Da, da,
If
da.
you, yes, I also do a bit of art on the side. So if you have a minute, go to webtoons.com or go download the Webtoons app and check out the series Sisterhoods. 2 words.
Cool, cool. Please do that, folks. Who the heck did that? Back where you belong. Back where you. Anyway.
That was from Hello Dolly.
Okay. I don't think that's what I was thinking of. I'm thinking more of a disco era song, but I might be wrong. Luminous in the chat already there over on the YouTubes. Welcome. And feel free, as always, to weigh in with any opinions you have on any of the stuff that we're talking about. It's a fairly short roster, so we're definitely not going to take up an hour, but some of them are some interesting topics that will need some discussion, let's say. And let's see, anybody else yet on any of the other chats? We, of course, also stream live in addition to YouTube to Facebook Live and to our first promo location, Twitch. That right there on your screen is our URL, twitch.tv/nerdcaliber. If you have a Twitch account, we'd certainly love you to visit there. Consider following us. We're really looking to build our following on Twitch. And hopefully get some great interactivity there like we do on the YouTubes and the Facebookses. So, starting off with our very first topic. Those two pretty young people that it's on your screen right now, they are your Mary Campbell and John Winchester, the leads in the upcoming show The Winchesters, which is the supernatural prequel spin-off, playing the two people that will ultimately be the parents of the lead characters in Supernatural, Sam and Dean. The woman, Meg Donnelly, is from a series called American Housewife. The man, Drake Roger, from a series called The In-Between. Both of them are pretty unknowns as far as I can tell, and you're going to have to excuse me. Pardon me. They have, neither of them have much in the way of deeper credits than that. So I'm assuming that the production company behind Supernatural and this new Winchester spinoff really liked what they were doing. And there you go. If you're a Supernatural fan, and boy, do we have a lot of them in our audience,
Yes.
I'm assuming you're all excited about this. Pardon me. I was never that deep into Supernatural. The episodes that I jumped in to watch, often because I had a guest, like anytime Felicia Day was on, I liked it. It was enjoyable. It just never grabbed me enough to make me a regular watcher.
Yeah, I can definitely piggyback on that statement because
Yeah.
I mean I tried a few times. The It didn't have the same punch as the other two members of the Holy Trinity of geek girldom, which are Sherlock and Doctor Who. And as far as that's concerned, only Doctor Who has stayed with me for all this time.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a completely different kind of production too. I would say if you're going to make a comparison to a fairly long-running American nerd drama with supernatural elements, then it's probably closer to Buffy than it is to either of those two. Um,
Uh, yeah, I guess. But there was just something about Buffy that made it stand out for me. I
yeah,
mean,
well,
it
and in
was
part,
kind of
God forbid that we throw any accolades at Whedon, but the humor. I mean, you can't deny that
yeah,
the guy writes good group humor. Yeah,
sadly.
sadly. Or sad that he was revealed to be the person he is. The humor is still good. So the way this is going to be structured is Dean is going to be narrating the story of his parents before, or basically when they first met, and how they became fighters against evil and demonic forces and so on before Sam and Dean were ever around. And of course, so Dean will be voiced by Jensen Ackles. And so there's that direct connection, and I guarantee that if it turns out to be a hit, they're going to throw enough money at Sam and Dean, at Ackles, and I can't think of his name now. He's off there doing the
Jared
Walker. Pilecki, thank you.
Yes.
So that they're going to do some sort of time travel thing. I guarantee it. If this show
Eventually.
yeah, this show runs into more than 2 seasons, no question. But yeah, so that's it. We don't know exactly. I don't think when this is going to drop. I don't think it's coming up in this season, since they just named the leads.
Announced it.
Yeah. Well, they announced it a while back, but they just named the leads. So yeah, you're probably looking at 2023 at the earliest. But now you know who's going to be, trying to step into the roles of Jeffrey Dean Morgan, or the shoes of Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Good luck with that.
Good luck, man. All right, Disney, man, Disney. So this is an image from the graphic novel Nimona. Nimona is a fantasy graphic novel created by Andy Stevenson. Andy Stevenson is queer, transgender, and the graphic novel won an Eisner Award in 2016, in part because of the way it deals with gender issues. The main character there with the wings is Nimona, who's a shapeshifter and is considered, is the way they put it here, gender nonconforming. I don't know if... Go ahead.
Kind of like Double Trouble in She-Ra.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it just gender nonconforming is such a generic term, but I guess that is the most accurate term because it's not non-gendered. They're not non-gendered. They're not, transgendered. They're gender nonconforming. So Blue Sky Studios, which made all of the Ice Age films, was a division of Fox, was making a animated movie adaptation of this. When the whole Disney Fox merger thing happened, there was... What?
No, I was just saying, oh boy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And here's where the oh boy comes in. Well, first, they made an announcement. Even back then, while the merger was happening, Fox still was announcing a date for it. And the original date of this was supposed to be February of 2020.
About that.
So once Disney wound up completing the merger with Fox, it looked at Blue Sky and what it was currently working on, and basically not only shut down the production of Nimona, according to reports here from the website Insider, where Disney was pushing hard against the idea of portraying queer characters and gender nonconforming characters and queer and transgender themes, which are all through the graphic novel. So Blue Sky pushed back, and this is not a causality statement, but Blue Sky pushed back, and whether this caused it or not, eventually Disney not only canceled the project after reports of the movie being more than 75% done, they shut down Blue Sky Studios. So in a week where Disney is getting justifiably rolled over the coals for its absolutely idiotic public stance on the Florida's Don't Say Gay bill, to have this information...
What you mean Disney taking a conservative stance?
Oh,
who would have thought?
Not only taking a conservative stance, but then trying to justify it with an explanation. We talked about this last week, folks, but their initial statement was, we're going to fight against anti-LGBTQIA plus legislation like this with our content. And immediately everybody who's ever seen any Disney piece of content went, no, you don't. And in fact, Pixar turned right around and went, you know how you've literally nixed every queer representation we've ever had in any movie we've made since you bought us? So yeah. And we talked about that last week. It's how,
I mean, the closest thing I've seen has been with the new Proud Family series.
So they are getting to the point where they are, it seems like, okay with some representation. Marianne Medina, thank you very much for the donation. Or you know what? We get so few of these, I can't remember what YouTube calls them. But the monies, put it that way. Thank you. And feel free to weigh in on this topic. If you feel like it, if you want to, have your voice put out there in the chat, that's absolutely fine. Would love to have you. So we were talking about, yes. So they're at the point now where they are skating at the edge of actual representation, which means it's kind of token or lip service representation at this point.
Fake woke.
And Chapek's response to, how they were going to deal with this issue with our content, when everybody knows that their content has been absolutely, completely bereft of good representation. And Toothless. That the only queer coding representation in Disney has been their villains. So yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, there's some great villains, but wouldn't it be great if there was some just as fabulous, clearly queer coded or straightly representative queer characters? Ursula is a fabulous villain.
Yes.
Because Ursula is basically divine, completely ripped off from divine.
Yep.
But wouldn't it be great if there was somebody on the good side that was just that fabulous?
Yeah, I mean, they don't necessarily have to be the main character, but make them make them of a Deuteronomist or something.
Right.
It's possible. Yeah. One thing I did want to add to this is this is the kind of stuff that companies like Square pull, where they're just like, oh yeah, we got, or WWE, or they're just like, yes, we're listening. They throw the suggestions in the trash.
Yep. Yeah, so Disney, you can argue all you want, as long as stories like this keep coming up, particularly during this particularly bad week for you, or bad 2 weeks, they're not going to let the pressure off. Disney employees have been staging walkouts. Now, granted, not a lot of them work from home, so they're pretty small walkouts. One of the ones who reported in their headquarters in California, there was more press there than actual people walking out of the offices. But so many different organizations, including Disney World, or Disney World or Disneyland. So the actual theme park itself tweeted out full 100% support for the walkout. Which is going to make Chapek and the other people in Disney, because Chapek comes from the theme park side, pretty pissed off.
Oh, wow. I bet.
Yeah. So anyway, just that's more. Marianne, thank you, and I agree with that very well. I think Ursula from The Little Mermaid, well, she maybe was put as the bad guy, but what if the king turned her evil because she left to be where the people are? That is possible. I don't get an awful lot of. You know what? I think I've actually heard that as sort of fanfic, that it's actually the king who's
Yeah.
really behind this all along. I don't think that there's enough subtext in The Little Mermaid for you to read that in, you know, believably from the story. But that's certainly something that, you know, nobody would argue if Disney officially wrote a sequel and it's like, hey, guess what? You know, Ariel finds out that it was Dad all along. Yeah, but yeah. So stop it, Disney. Get on board. It's 2022, Disney. God, you know, your anti-Semitic namesake is long dead. So stop it. Stop it. Stop
Well, we gotta protect those wholesome values. Gosh darn
it. That James Gunn and his yeah. Anyway, moving on. This is the actor Sydney Sweeney, who, since I have not seen Euphoria, I know nothing about, but apparently is literally tearing up Euphoria. And the news here is that Sydney Sweeney has just been cast according to an exclusive at Deadline. No confirmation. Deadline's almost always right about these things. To star alongside Dakota Johnson in the upcoming Sony movie Madam Web.
Oh, yeah.
With no statement, of course, because they haven't confirmed that the casting has even been made. Marianne, getting back to the last subject, because she, I'm assuming you mean Ursula, calls the king her brother, if you think about it. Well, yeah, even then, you know, if
that
there's... Sorry, go ahead.
That can be taken a number of ways.
Right. And also doesn't imply necessarily that her brother was the cause of her becoming evil. Again, that I'm aware of. It's been a long time since I've seen The Little Mermaid, and I think I've only seen it once. But, so the Sony Madam Web movie with this Sydney Sweeney, since they aren't confirming it, we have no idea exactly what character she's going to play. Spider-Gwen? You know, the age is right for Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
Could be Felicia Hardy, could be Black Cat, played young.
Which I would love to see.
I'd love to see any of those characters, you know. A Spider-Man movie in which the two primary characters and the most powerful one are both women? Come on. Now, yes, do it.
Just as long as it's better than Venom.
Or Let There Be Carnage. I have not yet seen Let There Be Carnage, so I can't really diss it.
You're not missing anything.
Yeah, that's what I hear. It made $500 million, you know, globally, so that's why they're continuing to do this. That's why they're apparently actually releasing Morbius April 1st.
What an appropriate time.
Well, yeah, an appropriate time. I mean, they sent out press invitations for the screenings, so, you know, that's usually a good sign that they're actually releasing the movie. All right, moving on to our next topic. That is, or was, the logo of the event that Electronic Arts EA put on every summer since 2016 called the EA Play Live. And the news is, ain't gonna happen this year and maybe not ever again. So it started out as a separate but adjunct function of E3. Happened at the same time back when they first did it in 2016. In the last couple of years before they went virtual last year, they did it a couple of weeks off of E3. So they were no longer directly connected or associated with E3. They decided to do their sort of own event. And now the news is they are not going to be doing it at all this coming summer. And the official statement is, however, this year things aren't lining up to show you everything on one date. which seems pretty realistic. They don't have a lot of big stuff to tell you about in June. So they also say that basically they're going to be stretching these announcements out throughout the course of the year, kind of like PlayStation's State of Play, although I'm guessing with less regularity. That makes sense. Why put on a big event? No, it's still some aspect of a pandemic going on. When your last ones were virtual, and you realize that, hey, we can just do these things virtually, like Sony does or Nintendo does with the Nintendo Directs, and who cares? So if you were planning on actually attending that in Vegas, sorry, folks.
I don't think I even knew that was a thing.
Until I read this, oh yeah, that's right. They've been doing that separately, haven't they? Same here. I'd kind of forgotten that it was a thing. But no.
Also, I'm always happy when E3, like EA, it's in the money, gets taken down a peg.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether this is taking it down a peg. This may be just actually a really smart marketing strategy. But yeah, I agree. EA, loot box EA, anything we can do for money EA. Yeah, it never hurts.
It's in the dough.
It's in the dough. It's in the money. Yeah, except for the devs. They're not in the money. Snap. So there's that, folks. Don't make any plans to head out to Vegas for that this year, because you'll be out there with nothing to do, because there's nothing to do in Vegas other than game conferences.
Right.
Like the GDC, which is going on right now out there. All right.
Vegas is what's happening. Jeez.
It kind of has this reputation of a place to hold conventions. So these folks right here are the latest cast members announced for the upcoming Amazon Prime adaptation of Neil Gaiman's Anansi Boys. I like this idea. I'm looking forward to these cast members. To your left there, of course, you've got CCH Pounder, has been a stalwart on both movies and television, although particularly television.
Pounder.
Yeah, Pounder.
Sorry.
Okay, thanks, 12-year-old Byron. In the middle is Jason Watkins, a well-known British actor who was most recently for The Crown. And on the right there, Fiona Shaw from the series Killing Eve, as they mentioned here in Deadline. But, if you look at that face and you go, oh, Mrs. Dursley. Now, so... in every... I don't know if Mrs. Dursley appeared in the last 2 Harry Potter movies. I'd have to look
No,
that.
she was in the last 2.
She was?
She was, yeah.
So she was in every single one of them.
I believe she was in the first part of Deathly Hallows.
Uh-huh.
So that was it.
Okay,
Yes.
so she might not have been in the last Deathly Hallows Part 2. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all really good actors. They join an already great cast, including Delroy Lindo, L. Scott Caldwell from Lost, Joy Richardson, Lachelle Carl, Malachi Kirby as the lead character, Charlie Nancy. And if this sounds familiar, basically characters who appear in slightly different forms in American Gods. Mr. Nancy.
So Delroy Lindo's going to be playing Mr. Nancy.
Well, Charlie's dad, yes, that Delroy Lindo is or was in fact Anansi, the African trickster spider god.
I could see him. I could definitely see him in that capacity.
Oh yeah. So I've been looking forward to the series anyway. I mean, I like Gaiman's stuff a lot. Good Omens was fantastic. I can't wait for season 2 of that. Which I did see he tweeted out just recently. They just wrapped filming. So, yay. But I'm also really looking forward to this. Gaiman is, as he learned from his experience with American Gods, he is, like he was in Good Omens, the showrunner of this. So, Gaiman is in control, and that's a good thing. Don't know, again, looking at this, it doesn't say when we're going to see this. They're just still making casting announcements, so probably not this season. All right, this is one of those, it's a slow week, so I decided to throw this in here because it's just so weird, and it really applies to YouTube creators like us. That is from Destiny 2, the video game. The news is that somebody has been going around dropping content claims on and content strikes against YouTube creators in the Destiny community, very specifically from a group that does what are called music archivists. They do music that has been used in Destiny that is no longer in current versions of the game. And the weird thing is that whoever is doing it, it's not Bungie, the maker, and one would assume the controller of the IP of Destiny. And in fact, Bungie's own YouTube channel has had strikes against it. It's not Bungie's YouTube affiliate group called CSC. And Bungie says they're not even sure who's doing it. So, somebody out there.
Crazy.
That is really crazy.
Who could it possibly be then? If it's not like the holder of the IP license.
Well, see, here's the thing. YouTube doesn't make people who are making copyright claims prove that they have the claim. Until it gets into the point. It could be, money-making trolls. So in other words, their claim is that they will start getting... One of the ways you can deal with a claim like that is you leave it up and the claimant gets a significant portion or all of the revenue, ad revenue you might make from it. So that may be their strategy, is that they are making this claim to make money. Whether they have any standpoint... It may be somebody who actually has a marginal connection, like somebody who was involved in playing in the orchestration, the orchestra or the band that actually was in the music. That doesn't give them the right to the IP, but YouTube, like I said, until it gets to the point where the person that's having the claim made against them, the YouTube creator, fights back, YouTube doesn't validate it. If somebody comes in and says, Nerd Caliber, you're using our stuff. We don't use music in our things and we don't use video, so nobody can do that. People have tried. As they say, you're using our stuff. YouTube will come to us and say, hey, you've got to stop this, without validating whether or not that person actually has the right to the property. And I've railed against this. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, they're probably just following Japan's model right now, trying to ignore fair use.
Well, they don't ignore fair use, and if you can prove that you're using this in a fair use sense, they'll let you do it. But after months, usually, and months of back and forth with the original claimant. And at which time you are either not making money because you've had to take it down, or you're giving that money to them. So, YouTube's system of dealing with this so that they don't have to actually hire lawyers to look into this stuff is absolutely appallingly unfair to the YouTube creators. It is literally YouTube's stopgap. We don't want to pay for lawyers, so you're always wrong until you prove that you're not. And Bungie, of all people, is getting caught up in this. I imagine Bungie's lawyers must be talking to YouTube's lawyers right now going, really, guys? Really? You're allowing strikes to happen against the IP that we own on our channel. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what the resolution of this is. You know, who's actually doing the strikes.
I'm gonna break out the popcorn.
And yeah, in the meantime, break out the popcorn. Not that there'll be much there, because YouTube really doesn't put this stuff out. You know, if it gets resolved, it's up to any of the creators to try to talk about how it got resolved. Like the creator who wound up getting almost all of his stuff struck by Toei.
Totally not Mark.
Yes.
And the same thing is happening with another YouTuber by the name of Suede. He's been doing, like, he used to do like a bunch of Pokemon videos, but ShowPro came in and they're just like, no. And it looks like they might be able to do some legal voodoo. They might be able to shut his channel down for good.
I mean, aside from people who are married to lawyers, nobody likes lawyers. So, you know, it's not a big surprise that this is just yet another reason why nobody likes lawyers. And apologies to my lawyer friends. I do have some friends, pretty good friends that are lawyers.
Same.
All right, moving on to our next topic. This is, I'm so looking forward to this. This is, of course, Christopher Lloyd, the amazing Christopher Lloyd. Doc Brown going all the way to the Back to the Future movies.
Gadzooks!
Jim going all the way back to Taxi, if you really want to go old school. So many other wonderful roles. He has been added to the cast of the upcoming season 3 of The Mandalorian. And this article on Empire has no idea who he's going to play. Obviously, that's not been put out. Nobody's really speculating on who the character might be based on any of the previous Filoni or non-Filoni Star Wars stuff. But I don't care who it is. It's Christopher Lloyd. I'm 100%.
Yes, agreed. If we're talking, you forgot to mention this when we were talking about legendary roles, but he also played live action Rick Sanchez in like the Adult Swim short.
Yes, I forgot about
that. Which was brilliant.
He played the Klingon Krug in Star Trek III: The Search for Spock. So at the point, he's done plenty of nerd stuff. Of course, he was. Can't think of characters.
Doom. Judge Doom and
Judge
Who Framed
Doom.
Roger Rabbit.
Yes, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Thank you. I wonder if he did that with his own voice. Oh, that would it hurts just thinking about it.
That would be hilarious if it was the case.
That would be. Anyway, yeah. So, season 3, currently shooting, no release date. Says it's currently shooting out in Southern California.
Ooh.
And that just maybe that's where the studios are that has the fishbowl, that wraparound LED screen thing that they do their special effects in. I'm hoping that doesn't mean that Robert Rodriguez is deeply involved like he was in Book of Boba Fett, because please. But anyway.
And yeah, his magic doesn't work for everything. His magic doesn't work for everything.
It does not. And which is kind of too bad, because I really like a lot of his other stuff. But
like Alita
was fantastic. His nerd stuff, sure. His horror stuff, Dusk Till Dawn. He's really good. His kids stuff, honestly, Spy Kids are fun movies. But anyway, so Christopher Lloyd joining The Mandalorian. Looking forward to it. I wonder if he's going to be some sort of proto version of Snape.
That would be awesome.
I don't think so. All right. Moving on.
Snoke.
Snoke, yes. Not...
yes. I'm just like, wait a minute.
Wait a
minute.
That would be combining the streams, as they say. All right, yeah, Snoke, thank you very much. Wow, that was a typo of voice-o. So here's a picture right here of a demonic creature from hell and Spawn. Boom. So this is, of course, Todd McFarlane and his creation spawn. Todd McFarlane, clearly one of the most influential comic creators of the 90s. His look for Spider-Man, for Venom, defined those stories until now, literally. And of course, when he and Jim Lee and a whole bunch of other people left Marvel and created Image Comics, Spawn was born, and that's one of the things he's most known for. He is also has become stupidly rich off McFarlane Toys, which makes all kinds of licensed toys, not just of his own properties, but all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
And the news is that McFarlane, who is generally pretty well known to be quite an asshole, and look up the Todd McFarlane Neil Gaiman legal fight, and just have a blast reading about it or watching some of the really good YouTube videos on it. And it, McFarlane is
amazing
tool of the First Order.
Yes.
And then went out of his way to make sure that he confirmed it in a recent interview. So he was on a YouTube channel, Shartimus Prime.
Who?
Shartimus Prime. Never known it. Never heard of it. I'm assuming it's a toy collector channel with the sort of, take on the Optimus Prime name, but who knows? And he said, while on there, talking about female action figures, he said that he couldn't put a whole wave of female action figures out at one wave at a time at retail in the boys figure aisle. But then goes into apparently some sort of long rambling rant about how a boy that received a female action figure and became incredibly disappointed, implying that sadness is the kind of sadness that could turn somebody into a serial killer. So, yeah.
Nobody tell him nothing.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. This article in Bleeding Cool, written by Jeremy Conrad, does a great job of sort of ripping him apart. So I don't need to do that entirely. Go read it at bleedingcool.com. But in here, he sort of takes him to task for the idea that female action figures don't sell as well. And while I agree that is probably the fault of the industry itself for not promoting female action figures properly, it's probably also true. Todd McFarlane, McFarlane Toys is one of the biggest action figure retailers, knows what their market demographics are. But if it is because they are not creating enough toys and marketing them properly to the right people, that would make sense, because you look at the Japanese market.
Exactly. I was just about to bring that up because, Todd McFarlane is not really in the business of making waifu toys. So,
right.
But maybe he should tap into that.
I guarantee. Now, this article does do a great job of saying that adults are doing nostalgia buys of action figures of this type. Kids are not doing that. Kids are, they're apps and Lego sets and so on. And sure, some action figures, my nephew is just nuts and has been for years, over any kind of superhero action figures. But not the collectibles like McFarlane Toys makes.
Yeah, I was gonna say the McFarlane Toys are really intricate, and they have like all these itty bitty pieces, which I don't know about you, but I smell a choking hazard.
Yeah, I mean, my nephew is crazy about toys that he can play with. McFarlane Toys are collectible figurines. The idea that he's not marketing, if he's got the licensing for it, Black Canary figurines, sexy character designs that were designed to be sexy figurines for the American comic book version of waifu collectors is idiotic. How much money is he leaving on the table by not doing that? And how much money is he leaving on the table by not actually creating very heroic female superhero character figurines designed specifically for the female market to buy? This is just like the most misogynistic viewpoint on, on serving the nerd community I can imagine somebody holding.
Really? Because, there's Star Wars and there's Lord of the Rings and all this other stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, Todd McFarlane and McFarlane Toys exists right now, making toys right now. J.R.R. Tolkien fought in World War I. Yeah, it's not a justification to say that he shouldn't have been misogynistic, and nobody ever actually said he was. In a personal standpoint, he just didn't believe that epic fairy tales clearly needed female action characters until some of his notes got turned into later stories like Baron and Luthien and so on. But yes, there is bad representation of female characters of any kind, strong or otherwise, aside from Galadriel, in most of Tolkien's work. So yeah, this is great that he goes on to make the point here that in the superhero world in general, you had, when they put out the toys for Endgame, everybody went, "Where's Natasha?" They literally did not have a Black Widow toy. And then later on, when there was some sort of WWE thing, a similar group came out with, "Where's the Divas?" And guess what? Of those two entities, WWE flipped the switch, and the diva activity is absolutely one of the most popular things in WWE activity, events, and also collectibles.
A broken clock is right twice a day.
Well, yeah, that's true. But, as misogynistic a group as WWE is, got the message, and Marvel didn't. I mean, come on. Lumina says, yes, McFarlane's focus is very narrow and centered around white males. I would say that's true. I think literally the only reason that, Spawn's the pre-death character is black is probably because McFarlane felt that would be a good marketing play. It certainly doesn't really come up in any of the stories about him. So yeah, he's Anyway, Todd McFarlane proves he's an ass. Todd McFarlane proves that he, and not just him, because Marvel's in this too, the rest of the collectible figurine industry in the United States is horribly misogynistic and completely wasting in a market segment. If they had a Frank Cho version of Ms. Marvel collectible figurine, I would cut off toes and sell them to buy that. I mean, that would be
Take my blood, I don't need it. Take my blood, I don't need it.
Exactly. That would be top tier waifu material right there, folks. In the comic book world, not the anime world. But anyway. All right, our last topic here. Speaking of representation, this just blew my mind when I saw this come up. Those people on the screen. Well, let's start with the superheroes in the middle. Those the one in the red and white is the Plutonian, the main character from the Mark Waid written graphic novel series Irredeemable, published by Boom. And the one next to him is from Incorruptible. And the news is that there will be live action movies based on both of these properties. That is going to be directed by the man all the way to the right there. That is, I want to get his name right, James Samuel. the filmmaker behind the recent award-winning Western, The Harder They Fall, a black Western. And the person all the way to the left on that image is Kemp Powers, who is going to be writing these works. Kemp Powers co-wrote and co-directed Soul from Pixar, wrote the screenplay based on his own stage play of One Night in Miami. Those two people together alone make this just, I can't wait.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. Well, one of the reasons why I can't wait is that Samuel wrote, directed, and composed the score for The Harder They Fall. This guy is a filmmaker, in a way that, filmmakers haven't been around, or we haven't seen in a long time.
Which has a phenomenal soundtrack, by the way.
Everything about it, like I was telling Byron earlier, I still kick myself that once I saw this come up, it's like, oh my God, yes, I haven't seen The Harder They Fall yet. But there's more. Producing this is, but I want to get his first name right, James Lasseter, and his production partner, Jay-Z. Jay-Z and Lasseter produced The Harder They Fall, so they are coming back together with Samuel to make this movie, or these movies. Lasseter, by himself, has produced I, Robot, I Am Legend, and the Netflix series Cobra Kai. So,
wow, that's quite the resume.
This back office is so friggin' stacked. And Mark Waid wrote Kingdom Come and so many other, just brilliant standalone and ongoing series in comics, DC and Marvel. That, I've not read Irredeemable. Boom was not a particular publication house that was ever on my radar until recently. But I know it is incredibly well received, well reviewed. And again, Mark Waid is amazing. Kingdom Come is one of my absolute favorite graphic novels of all time.
Yeah, Boom does some great work. Like, I should check that out because as it's been well documented, I'm a Power Rangers fan, and their take on the Power Rangers, expanding way beyond what has come before, is some phenomenal work. And if you're a fan of comics and or a fan of Power Rangers, I can't recommend it enough.
Yep. As the way they put it here, Boom Studios controls the largest library of comic book and graphic novel IP outside of Marvel and DC because they license a lot of the stuff like the Power Rangers and so on.
Yep. And they have several books of that, so I can only imagine what like IPs like Irredeemable have going on.
Yeah. Well, as far as I know, these are two self-contained series. There's Irredeemable and Incorruptible, which were they describe as sister series. And so they were a series that was intended to be wrapped up in a graphic novel publication size. So they are both done.
Perfect.
So I am so looking forward to this. I'm sure it's going to happen. Considering, Jay-Z's got more money than God. Lasseter's got such an incredible, resume as a producer. They're gonna get the money. They're gonna get all the money they need. James won. He is British, as it turns out, making a fantastic Black American Western. So good for him. He won the outstanding debut by a British writer, director, or producer for The Harder They Fall at the BAFTAs, the British Film and Television Arts Institute Awards. Yeah, so I am really excited for this. I hope they rush this into production. I hope Powers is a really fast writer, and they get this off the ground really quickly. It just, that team, come on. What more could you want? What you aren't going to get anymore is this show. That's it, folks. We're done. We're wrapping up. Do you have a could we please, could we not, Byron?
Could we please continue to like speak out against practices like microtransactions in the game industry? Because I bring that up because of the remake of Chocobo GP, which was a very popular game. It was a very popular game on the PS1. And I was definitely interested in trying this out. I downloaded the demo, and then out of nowhere, I see an old too familiar screen of currencies that you can buy and characters that you can unlock. And I'm just like, what in the blazes is this? This is a phone game that if I had paid full price for it, I would have been gypped.
Yep.
And we need to do better. We need to speak out about this kind of stuff. We need to vote with our wallets.
Yes. Although I have to say, speaking of chocobos, our team member Chocobo just dropped in on Twitch. Hi, back at you. Welcome to the chat. Unfortunately, we're just wrapping up. So before we leave, we'll give you our last promo. That is our URL for our Patreon page, patreon.com/nerdcaliber. Dearly love to have you stop by, check it out. If you would like to be a patron, of course, we would love to have you as a patron as well. And we would use that money to basically just get more content at cons coming up for
very, very soon.
And there will be some soon for YouTube and the website and so on. So, upcoming promos this Thursday: Full Fat Spoiler Chat, Season 4 of Star Trek Discovery. With everybody, this is not really a spoiler because it's been in the news everywhere, but Stacey Abrams making an appearance in the final episode. And next Monday is No Nerd Caliber, which will be our top 3 favorite Spider-Man stories from any media, movies, film, television, cartoons, comic books, whatever. And that's because next Thursday's, not 2 days from now, but a week and 2 days from now, Full Fat Spoiler Chat will be Spider-Man No Way Home. Now that it's finally hit video on demand. So, that's it, folks. We will see you at, hopefully, Wicked Comic-Con, Weston Waterfront, South Boston, April 9th. We will see you at PAX East, the BCEC connected to the Western Waterfront, no relation to Wicked Comic-Con, as it turns out, April 21st through the 24th, and our panel, the Cosplay and Photography Shootout, more of an event than a panel, which is a ton of fun, whether you're a participant or you're just watching cosplayers and photographers run around like chickens with their head cut off trying to get really cool images in a very short amount of time. Is Saturday night, the 23rd, is 7:30 in the Arachnid Theater. So check it out. Go to the website. Look at the description. It's a lot of fun. And then, of course, Anime Boston, end of May. And I will be running the photo department. I will be the photo department manager, which means Nerd Caliber will be in control in the cosplay photo suite, where we will also still be doing all of the stuff that is required for Anime Boston. Masquerade shoots. All of our free shoots will be up on Nerd Caliber and the Anime Boston website. So you'll be able to check them out from whichever one you'd rather do. And we'll, of course, have our press team, in addition to that, wandering around, doing video, taking photos, social media, and all of that stuff. So we will see you at one of those events or one of our upcoming shows. Byron, give us a goodbye.
All right, guys. Byron D0. Again, guys, thanks for chiming in with your feedback and such. It's really appreciated. And again, check out my web series on Webtoons, Sisterhoods. 2 words, Sisterhoods.
Please do that, folks. What Byron said, thanks everybody in the chat. Marianne, thanks for the wonderful donation or monies. And stay safe